time. What's the time? Oh, it's now. Ah, you remember that? It's now. It's always now. It's never tomorrow. It's never yesterday, unless you bring yesterday or tomorrow into now. But with that, it's always now. And that's important. Why? Because how you're thinking now determines your destiny. So, with that, I'll say this about now. Good morning, great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning. Yes, give you that reminder that we get to choose right now what we're going to make things mean. Remember, it's in the meanings that you give things that you're led to a frequency. That's a vibratory state. And that vibratory state is the attractive force in your life. Now, again, that's really important to get. More important, though, to use, to choose thoughts that are only in harmony with how things, the way that you would love them to be. Did I say that right? Let me say that over again. To think thoughts that are in harmony with how you would love them to be, right? That's an important thing for you to do. It's never, ever a good idea to continue with thought processes that are rooted in lack, limitation, or even with what's happening here in this very moment. Why? Because whatever you give energy to, you get more of multiplied. I was listening to a little bit of Neville Goddard this morning and how the universe gives more good or bad than is given to Ed. Think about that. Whatever you give your attention to, you get more of multiplied. And again, that's another important thing for you to get, which is something that we hope you use. We hope that you apply what we're sharing with you here in Master Your Mind. Now, what have we been studying? We've been studying this, the Master Key System, this beautiful gem that helps you to understand better the laws of the universe. It helps you to understand more about who you are and how your mind works, which works according to those laws of the universe. So if you don't have a copy of this, make sure you do get a copy of this. Get this exact copy. If you want to have this exact copy, just click on the link that we provide you to get this. And then from there, mark it up, underline it, highlight it, and also take notes. And with that, also make sure you have this magnificent goal card with you, something that you've written down your ideal on. But with that, my reminder for you about the goal card is that we don't manifest what's written on the card. We manifest how we feel about what we're writing on that card or what we've written on the card. So there you've got to be attached to it. Don't think of it as something that's going to be. Instead, operate from how it's something that's already in your life. See, isn't that interesting? Now we've gone full circle to the beginning of what I just shared with you. It's about now, how you're going to think now. All right, so let's go into this, shall we? Let's go into where we are in this book. And we're going to go over what we went over previously. And why? Because it's important. Okay, so the page that we're on is page 274. And here we're going to go with section 20 again. Now remember, application is what it's about. Yes, it's fine. You got this information. It's really cool, really awesome. But no, we're not about having it be cool or awesome. We're about having it make change in our lives. And the only way is if you use it practically. So what does he say here? He says the form will depend upon the mental image from which it emanates. This will depend upon the depth of the impression, the predominance of the idea, the clarity of the vision, the boldness of the image. See, again, I want you to notice that what's being shared with you here is that the outcome, the form, the outcome for anything depends on how clear and dominant your mental picture is. Now, did you catch that? Because that's what gets externalized. If you are thinking from, for instance, lack, limitation, if that's what's clear in your mind, and if that's what you're holding on the screen of your mind, then that means you're going to enter onto that frequency, which means that's what you're going to deliver as an outcome in your life. In other words, you will experience more lack, more limitation. Why? Because that's the clear and dominant mental picture that you are engaging with. And this is important because this has everything to do with making big change. Now, what's the question I ask you many times? Will you be able to get what you want if you're focusing from what you don't want? Well, what's the answer? No, it's heck to the no. It's not going to happen. There's no way you're going to be able to step into the new life that you would love to live if you go back into the old patterns of thought which kept you stuck. Now, again, grab onto what he's saying here. The form will depend. It counts upon the mental image from which it emanates. And this will depend upon the depth of the impression, what you're latching onto, what you're emotionally involved with, the predominance of the idea, whether or not it's being held, and the clarity of the vision, the boldness of the image. Now, how will you know what type of image that you are involved with? Just look at your actions that you're taking. If you're choosing to hold back, I got news for you. It's because you're emotionally involved with the lack, with the limitation, with the disbelief. But if you're moving forward, even though it's uncomfortable, that's how you know you're moving. Excuse me. I had a little tickle in my throat. Sorry about that. So now again, grab onto that for you. This is where you get to decide how you're going to think. And it also is a beautiful reminder that your results are effects. You should always look at your results as effects, as feedback. The same way you should look at your feelings that way. Write this in your notes. My feelings and results are feedback. And what are they feedback of? They're feedback of how you've been thinking. They're feedback. But see, this is what most people don't understand, which is why most people stay stuck. But see, that's not you. See, you're learning how to think properly, to think from the inside out instead of the outside in. And that's what causes the stuckness. It's that process of thought, of thinking from the outside in, which then delivers more of the same. Now, let's go further. The quality depends upon its substance. And this depends upon the material of which the mind is composed. If this material has been woven from thoughts of vigor, strength, courage, determination, the thought will possess these qualities. And by the way, it will be the same if the qualities are negative. Or let me correct that. It'll be the same if the thoughts are negative. It will pull up the qualities of those negative thoughts. Now, what is this saying from another level? Well, it's saying that the strength of your thoughts, think about that, the strength of your thoughts depends on the mental material that you use. This is where The reminder of what Robert Collier shared comes into play. The secret of all power, all success, all riches is in first thinking powerful thoughts, successful thoughts, thoughts of wealth of supply. We must build them in our own mind when? First. Now, who is the one that gets to determine the quality of the thought? It's you. You're the one that gets to determine all of that. You get to determine whether or not those limiting thoughts are going to stay, or whether or not the patterns that aren't serving you get to stay, and whether or not you're going to create new beliefs or new patterns. Isn't it interesting how it's all in your hands? And finally, the vitality depends upon the feeling with which the thought is impregnated. If the thought is constructive, it will possess vitality. It will have life. It will grow, develop, expand. It will be creative. It will attract to itself everything necessary for its complete development. Now, I want you to notice here within these beautiful sentences, he's sharing with you that you don't have to concern yourself with the outcome, that there's a law in operation here. Remember, like attracts like. Everything produces after its kind. You become how you're thinking most of the time. Your outer world is a reflection of what's happening in your inner world. And your inner world is a world of thought. Now let's embody that for a moment. Let's embody what's being shared here about this beautiful gem here. You're saying vitality comes from feeling. Okay, look, ready? Let's use this practically for your goal. You can write this down. Yes, it's something intellectual in first, but remember, we don't manifest this unless we give it life. We've got to vivify it with our own vitality, and it in turn will vivify us. It will give us life. Why? Because of its spirit, because it's alive. So, with that, it's important for you to act in harmony with the essence of who you are and only think constructively, not destructively. Always think from expansion, full expression. And when you act on that in your mind, because that's what I mean by action, you'll start moving into physical action. But with that being said, the more you do that, the more you'll have what's called momentum. And momentum's an amazing, powerful force. And with that momentum, you'll propel forward beautifully. Now, here he shares the contrary. If the thought is destructive, constructive, destructive, okay, the opposite, it will have within itself the germs of its own dissolution. It will die, but in the process of dying, it will bring sickness, disease, and every form of discord. And he's talking about the negative ideas, the negativity. Now, here again is the reminder. Guess who gets to choose how you're going to move forward? It's you. You're the one that gets to decide how you're going to proceed. Now, here I will remind you of something, because a lot of the personal development world says this: you can't let those limiting ideas to continue. You can't let any negativity happen in your life And the thing I want to share with you is that's not something you're letting happen. The only time we let things happen, in other words, let the light in, is when we are thinking. That's a beautiful little gem to grab onto. I mean, how many times have you said that I let it happen? Oh, bullshit. No, what happened was the negative pattern was being reinforced by your subconscious mind, and you just weren't awake. So, with that, work with the process of let it happen. In other words, allow the light to come in. So, again, look at this. Think the constructive thoughts, they build; the destructive thoughts, they carry their own downfall, they destroy. And again, the best part is you get to choose how you're going to think when it comes to those opposites. Now, in terms of the destructive, he says, this we call evil. And when we bring it upon ourselves, some of us are disposed to attribute our difficulties to a supreme being, but the supreme being is simply mind in equilibrium. Now, I want to bring up something because there's a second phrase here, and that is he says, when we bring it upon ourselves, but we really don't bring it upon ourselves. And I'm certain that if Charles Haanel were alive today in physical form, and if we were to have this discussion, he would actually make this correction. But I know what he's talking about. He's talking about when it's attracted into our lives, what happens with how we're thinking is we tend to blame or attribute our difficulties to, oh my gosh, it was God punishing me, but it's really not true. What's happening is an enforcement of the law. And see, that's not a punishment, that's just an enforcement of the law. Now, for those of you who've been watching this stream, if you'd like to continue this, go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. All right, so